Yo, boys, back with another video. Today we're going to be doing the good old-fashioned tier list, and we haven't done one of these in like a month or so, whatever, but we're going to be doing another one. This is going to be for Solo Shuffle, and I've been playing a lot of Solo Shuffle lately. That's really all I've been doing other than like casual, or we've been trying to push with threes with a few comps, but it like after like 2100 CR, it's like I mean, I'd say even below that is just it feels like really high rated games, even though it's like you don't even get anything out of it. Like you don't gain ratings and stuff. But my main goal is uh I get a lot of feedback. I see most of my feedback. So I'm gonna try to be more positive about the game. Now, I don't really have to be positive about it, all videos, but I think on videos specifically, it's probably better. It's not good for content, but uh, just a quick recap. A lot of people think that YouTubers are actually good people, but they do that for a reason. It's like a facade. It's like a lot of people, it's very rare that they're the same on stream and off stream because the moment that stream turns off, they can say a lot of words that they can't say on, you know, it's just like in general, that person they have to act nice or else you're just like you lose money when you don't act nice. That's just how it goes. So, not to say I'm like a douche or anything, but I'm definitely not all 100% positive. I have my Crusader moments, so I can see exactly where he's coming from, but let's just get that out of the way. I know a lot of you guys, you know, you just that's just how it goes. But today we're gonna be talking about the good old fast solo shuffle. I played SP, I played Ellie, I played Wrestle Druid. What else have I played? I played some Outlaw Rogue, Sub Rogue. I actually went down like 100 rating, not one DC, and then obviously I had the Mistweaver that just threw my game. So, uh, yeah, I mean, on top of not really liking Rogue at all, and I don't have any MMR, so if I don't get good Q sessions, I'll spend like 3 hours and gain like 40 rating, even if I win, because it's unbelievable. But pretty much we're just gonna be starting off here. I'm gonna do the best that I can for these, and we're gonna go from there. So a lot of stuff has changed. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of classes are a lot better, and a lot of other classes are worse. So we're gonna be starting off with Warlock. Affliction Warlock, definitely an A tier spec. Mainly, it's just his output and damage. It's not even about CC or anything. It's just his output and damage is ridiculously strong. Until you get the higher rated and people start learning how to face an Affy, it's literally just you're just cutting bread at that point. You're literally just bleeding everything and killing everything. And it can work well in solo shuffle. It can kind of just work with every comp, other than maybe like a mage if the mage cheaps or something. But it usually works with every comp, and it's just like you just full throttle. So pretty self-explanatory. Arc Destro Lock is obviously an S tier spec. Overall, you get everything that's possible. You get the burst damage you need. You get instant cast damage. So if you're getting trained, it doesn't even matter. You have the defensive cooldowns to where it's like, okay, well, if my healer's not the best, then I can, if I play good, then there's a high chance that I can live longer than other classes would be able to live. Obviously, casters in solo shuffle usually depend on their healers, so that's just how that goes. So lower rated, it's not going to be the greatest, but once you get over like 1800, once you get the healers that just like they know their abilities, you're usually good to go. But definitely an S tier overall spec. Next one we're going to be going with Demo Lock is going to be, where is it? Demo. Demo Lock's going to be an A tier spec. Not necessarily the best, but again, you have control, you have damage, everything you need with this spec. It's not as good as Destro, and I'd say Demo is probably better than Affy in solo shuffle. It just depends. These are just they're definitely A tier. I wouldn't say they're the greatest, but they're definitely they're up there. I still think Demo is really good. It's really annoying facing Demos still. I really wish they were just taken out of the game. It's not a spec. It's like Affy. Like it should be like the one main spec, and then the other specs just shouldn't be in the thing. So like for Rogue, Sub Rogue should be the meta. For for Druid, Pharaoh Druid should be the meta. I mean, there's other situations, but it's just like Demo specifically. I think everyone hates Demo. If you face a Demo log, you don't have fun at all. It's the one class you despise. It's worse than a Rogue. It's worse than anything else that I've ever faced playing anything else. But we're gonna go to the next one here. Shaman Ellie is going to be probably S tier to be honest. In solo shuffle specifically, you don't have to cast, which is the best thing about it, and That's really, and it has a lot of utility to work with. You have trimmer, you have ground for traps, you have knockback. So if you're facing melees, you can literally control them the entire game. Long range kick, that's great, but it's mainly you're outputting damage and then you not having to do anything other than damage to win. So it's definitely a good spec in solo shovel. I'd say in arena it's probably down to an A tier, but in solo shovel specifically, it's gonna be an S for sure. So Enhancement Shaman's gonna be a B tier, maybe even a C, probably one of the worst. We'll put it at B just because it randomly one shots. So if you guys haven't seen, enhancements have a one shot that they get a proc on, and it'll literally hit you from like 100 to 0 in like 2 seconds, but it's all proc based and stuff. So overall, it's not the greatest. If you get procs, it's obviously S tier because you're just literally two shotting every proc. Otherwise, it's not a spec that I'd play personally. So that's just gonna go at C tier. The next spec here is we're going to Shaman. Wrestler Shaman's definitely an A tier spec. Overall, if you know how to play Shaman, it's gonna be good. You literally, how do you, the only reason this is really bad for a lot of lower rated players is Earthen. Earthen gets super high value if you use it whenever your teammate's stunned, and then when he moves out of it, you would just place it back on top of him. But mainly just use it whenever you know the person's gonna be standing still or he's gonna be stunned. Otherwise, you're going to get no benefits. A lot of times you can't even see it. It's like it's not the animation is like not even seeable. Like when there's so much stuff going on in the game, like unless somebody puts like a literally like in-game tokens where it shows like it literally makes a sound and it has this like this thing come out of the air and it shows you exactly where it is. Yeah, unless you have that down, I literally can barely see it half the time unless I literally start looking for it. So definitely you know, I don't know why that hasn't been like buffed, like the animation, to where it's like you're able to actually see what's going on, but whatever. So that's pretty much that. Hunter BM is going to be. See, these Hunter's kind of a weird one. I'd say Hunter is S tier. Overall, Hunter BM specifically, it's just really good. PvE specs and solo shuffle that are actually really good right now are just they're all going to consist of PvE. So they have the CC, they have the damage. Every class that can basically PvE is going to be doing really well in solo shuffle. Whether or not overall, maybe in arena they're not the greatest or they're not the most broken, but BM and solo shuffle. The only bad news about this is if you do not know how to kite and use your pet freedoms, you're gonna lose. You're gonna have a bad time. So again, if you know how to play it and you're playing, you know what your abilities do, you know how to at least kite to some extent, and you're using your cooldowns efficiently, it's going to be an S tier. Obviously, if you don't, it's going to be worse, but that's going to be that. We're going to go with MM Hunter is going to be an A tier spec. I'd even be so close to put it as S tier, but it's not enough. I think MM it lacks its overall damage, and in solo shuffle, if you're a burst spec class, you're not going to have fun because there's so much utility around the game. Everybody has 30 different CDs that get around your one CD that it's like it's not gonna matter. So, obviously MM has a crazy burst, but at the same time, off its burst, it's literally just running for its life and it's dead. It's not like a BM Hunter to where it's like it's getting reset on their burst every 45 seconds and they're just consistently doing unhealable damage. So it's definitely an A tier spec, definitely good and valid, but not S tier level. Survival Hunter, where is it? Let me find it. Survival Hunter is gonna be an A tier. Actually, Serve is a weird spec because all the other specs are so good that I think Serve is good to an extent, but just not good enough. So right now I'm gonna put it as B. It could go up to A to be honest. It has the damage. It's just again, it's not a DH. It's not, it's just not. Like it has burst efficiently, but like after its burst, it's not doing much damage. You're just doing cleave bomb damage and stuff like that. So it's not gonna be too fun of a spec. Overall, it's pretty good, but I'm just gonna put it as a B tier. So there's that. We're gonna go with Warrior. Arms Warrior is obviously gonna be an S tier. Now you can argue that this could be an A tier, and the reason is Arms Warrior doesn't do like it has crazy burst, but not like Shadowland's crazy burst. So it does a lot of damage, and off its burst it doesn't do much. but the main reason warriors are so good all the time is because of their dampen. So an arms warrior is a dampen class. So the higher in damp that you go, the higher, like a warrior's meant to be at 60% damp and then beat you. That's the good thing about solo shuffle is, they go in there and they're not supposed to, they're not even planning to kill you until that 50% mark. They're just trying to literally just click sharpen on you or have their mortal strike wound on you, and you're just gonna die because they're not gonna be healing you. And then by the time because usually you can heal to around 60%, but if you have a warrior on you at around 40%, you're literally not going to do any healing with a warrior on you, and then the other healer is just going to have a wonderful time. So really good in solo shuffle. Again, you're going to have a hard time versus casters, but if you know how to play warrior and you play it efficiently, it's definitely an S tier spec. You guys can let me know what you guys think about that. But that's going to be my thought on that. Fury Warrior is going to be a B tier spec. It has decent damage, but again, the reason Warrior is so good in Solo Shovel is because of its sharpen. Now with Warrior, you have to keep 100% uptime in order to keep that, percentage. Now if you clicked it one time and it just kept all the stacks that you needed to and you could keep it up, it'd be different, obviously. But it's not like that, so that's just how that goes. So it's going to be a B tier, has pretty solid damage and all that. If you play it really good, you can definitely gain rating with it, but it's definitely not an A tier. And that it's, again, these could easily be in A tier, and honestly, I'll put enhance in C and then put these in B. I think that's better. So that's pretty much that. I'm not going to be doing tank, or actually we can do tanks to be honest. Why not? Might as well, we never do tanks anyway, so that's pretty much that with Warrior. With the tanks, I'm really just going the best. I mean, all the ones that I don't really know about, like the OP ones, I'll do. Everything else is gonna go down the bottom here. So really just Blood DK, B tier, obviously in arena, and honestly in general, Blood DK could even be an A tier spec right now. Perma grips, and it does a lot of bleed damage, and it's also a tank, so it has unhealable healing. So honestly, you could even put it at A tier, which I am intended to do. If you guys look at the ladder for Solo Shuffle, I think Blood DKs are at 2400, about around 22 to 2400 right now. I'll put it as B tier just to, respect the ladder. But yeah, it's definitely a good spec. If you're looking to do tank Solo Shuffle and you're trying to get rank 1, I'd suggest doing like Warrior or DH. If you spec as tank and then you queue as DPS, you actually go in Solo Shuffle as a tank, and that's how people gain rating as a tank, I'm pretty sure. So it'll count you as a tank, and you'll gain rating as a tank. So you'll get him with, instead of like doing tank versus tank, you'll do tank versus DPSs. So you'll have a chance to go 3-3 or whatever you want to go. Obviously, I'm not trying to give people, info to just ruin other people's games, because if you're playing a tank, you're ruining people's games. It's not funny. Getting your rank 1 as a tank is pretty much the same equivalent as just buying it, so it's not worth doing. I wouldn't advise it, but you do whatever you want to do. But let's go to the next class here. I'll just let's go with DH. So DH obviously S tier class. Overall just insanely good. It does die pretty quick, depending on what you're facing. But overall, with the damage output that you have, and you have a decent amount of utility, so it's definitely really good right now. Probably one of the best solo shuffle specs currently. So that's pretty much DH. Rogue, Assassination Rogue. So Rogue comes into play. It's kind of weird now. Just because of its CC, I'd put every Rogue spec in A tier. Depending on what I want to do here. The thing is, I don't think I'll put Assassination at B tier. I'll put Sub at A tier, and I'll put Outlaw A tier. So that's my list right there for Rogue. It might be a little controversial. I don't think Rogue at all Rogue is no longer S tier. Now let's say Outlaw was doing if Outlaw could top DPS at 150 while everybody's in middle, it may, because like let's be honest, nobody sees an Outlaw Rogue doing more than 60k DPS like consistently. It's like really never happening, and if it is happening, it's 3 people stacked, or it's like pet damage. Otherwise, they do really no damage. They're CC bots, which is fine. If you're playing with good players, Outlaw is great. But that's the problem. If you don't start at like 2400 MMR, Outlaw is just a complete. It's unbelievably just like it's unbelievable. But same thing it goes as sub. The sub is worse than Outlaw. and sub is worse than assassination right now. So honestly, you could just flip these around. To be honest, me personally, I think sub is really bad. Its burst no longer is really anything, but just I don't know what I'll respect the ladder and go like this instead. Even though I think sub rogue, if you just click CDs versus sub rogue, you're perfectly fine every single go to about 80% dip. But you know that might be some bias, but I'm just saying. So we'll leave it at that for now. So Fire Mage, is gonna be a B tier again. Fire Mage, the main issue is you have to run Glass Cannon to do damage, and Glass Cannon completely and utterly just ruins the entire mood for Fire Mage. Fire Mage is a fun spec. It's probably the most fun. It's probably the most skillful spec that you can play as Mage in a very long time. It's definitely taken the most skill out of all of them, and it's just is the last time I had its time to shine, like really shine, is in Shadowlands when you know obviously you had triple shields, your burst actually mattered. Now it's just you click bust, nothing happens, and then you die in a global. So very questionable. But that's pretty much that. Arcane Mage is gonna be an A tier spec. The problem with Arcane is the same thing that's the problem with Sub and MM and Outlaw. Uh, the overall damage is just not there. You have your burst damage, which is great, but off your burst damage, you're literally doing 30, 40k DPS, and you're struggling when everybody else is doing literally clicking their 3 button rotation, doing consistently 80 to 100k DPS. You're sitting there literally having to play really good. If you don't have CC on somebody, you can't burst. You know, it's an entire different ball game when you're playing a burst spec compared to playing a PvE spec. And that's not just an arena, that's in everything. Because it's the game's based off PvE and not, PvP. So that's just how that goes. So that's pretty much my thought with that. Frost Mage, same thing. Really good overall, but again, if it has basically everything it needs. It's just not at that length to where it's like off CDs, it's doing nothing. You're pretty much sitting there frost bombing and then just literally sheeping and just AoEing. Uh, Overall, it's just like this is supposed to be a consistent damn class, same as Arcane. Maybe you know a lot of these specs are if you give them burst, they literally have to kill somebody in 2 to 3 seconds, maybe 4 seconds max. And with the amount of cooldowns that people have, it's not even possible. Especially when you don't like, it's very rare that you kill somebody in a kidney nowadays. Especially as as a burst class, it's really hard. But as a PVE class, you'll be able to do it. Like as these class, one chaos bolt, one essence break, one primal mortar wave. You know, all that can literally 100 somebody in like 3 seconds, and they're already a PvE spec, and then they have bursts on top of it. They're basically sub rogues. Every class is a sub rogue or a rogue in general. So people that complain about rogues in general, um, everybody is a sub rogue or an outlaw rogue, whatever you want to call it. But we're gonna go to the next here, and if you disagree with that, yeah, everybody has millisecond CC. Everybody has 10 different CDs. Everybody is a rogue. So people that complain about rogue still, you are playing a rogue, no matter what spec you play. Other than enhance, I'd say enhance is the one spec that's not a rogue. But we're gonna go with the Druid here, and we're gonna go with Boomy. Boomy, A tier spec. Overall, you have everything you need. The one issue is defensive. It's just not. It's not it. Without survival instincts, which I honestly think they should give Boomy survival instincts. What honestly, at least one stack of it, and it should last for at least it should last as long as a wall would. So 7 to 8 seconds. I think that's perfectly fine. Take away their fast clone and force them the pre-call clone, and then put clone on a CD. Like you could do that with a bunch of stuff. Put sheep on a CD, or either put it on 1 or 2 DRs to where there's not 3 DRs of everything, or put them on the same DR as every other CC. That way, oh, if I sheep, I can't clone. Oh, if I sheep, I can't fear. If I fear, I can't, incap. Like put stuff on put one main CC and that's it. And then obviously you could do a stun off that and that'd be fine. So one main CC, one stun, boom, perfectly fine. Not, oh, I'm a CC and then I have another class I can CC on top of my CC. That's a 6 second CC. On top of that, another CC, and then I can incap him and then stun him. That's the problem with the game right now. Millisecond CC, MMR, and rating gains. Those main three topics, if they were fixed, game would be perfectly fine. And maybe just like take away some cooldowns because obviously new players are just gonna be overwhelmed. But we're gonna go with the next one here. Feral Druid, obviously, he's going to be a B tier. Overall, it's pretty good. You have burst damage, but again, defensively, you're forced to sit in bear form, and then your overall healings don't do anything. So for Boomy's healing, Feral's healing, your healing just doesn't do anything. Like you could literally spam your rose and you get maybe 10%. You spam rejuve or not rejuve or whenever you're in bear form and you click that revival or I don't know what's called, but it literally heals you for like 15 or 20% when it needs to be healing you for at least minimum of 45 to 50. Um, it's just that's just how it is. Like a class cannot be sitting in their bear form for 90% of the game. They're not gonna thrive. Now, if they're playing with like an Affy or something and solo shuffle and they get lucky or like a DH, they do very well. But obviously, it's just that's not how it goes. You get unlucky, and that's just how it is. Tank and put this over here. Okay, so we're gonna go with DK next. DK is gonna be an A tier spec. DK in general is actually pretty good. I would honestly say it can be S tier, but at the same time, it's missing. It's not a DH. That's the problem. It's not a warrior. It's not an Ellie. It's not a lock. It's very PvE, but the issue is they made it into a bursty class. But the problem is it has bursts. Don't get me wrong. But after its burst, when you're waiting, every APOC, and your APOC does pretty good damage. It's like 50 0. It's like 150 every 45 seconds, which is really good. It's not bad. But at the same time, Unholy DK is not supposed to be a burst spec, it's a bleed spec. And they made it into a burst, like they made it into a frost DK pretty much, and it's kind of ruined it. Um, but it's still really good. You can still gain rating pretty easily with it. It's still very good. If you're good at DK, go ahead and play DK. You'll gain rating just fine. Frost DK is going to be a B tier. Frost DK is really good. Again, it does unhealable burst damage. But the problem is in a meta full with how many, like we have so many cooldowns to trade through that a bursty class is not going to do good in solo shovel. So anything that's required, okay, so let's say you burst and then you do no damage after the burst. Basically, MM100, pretty much every other class that's not a PvEer, uh, has this issue right now to where they burst and it's like, oh wait, I can click stuff in a stun. Oh wait, I can click. My buddies have 3 different CDs just to stop my one CD every minute or two, and it's just like it's not gonna work out too well. So those classes aren't gonna thrive in this type of meta, but it is what it is. Sometimes other classes get the chance to be in the S tier spot, so I don't mind too much. So we're gonna go with the next one here, and it's going to be Windwalker. Windwalker is gonna be an A tier spec. The one main issue with Windwalker is it's based off burst. Again, a lot of these classes that are based off burst don't do anything off their burst. So what happens is, oh, Windwalker trades, he's gonna get CC'd non-stop. By the time he gets out of that, his burst is gonna be done, and that's it. There's gonna be nothing more for him to do, and he's not gonna do any damage off his Serenity. So he's gonna be sitting waiting for that Serenity, and then he'll have damage again. And so that's every 2 minutes. Meanwhile, you're gonna have one of these classes that are consistently doing unhealable damage the entire game. So there's no point of playing this class when you can play any of this S tier. So we're gonna go with the next one here. Um, Actually, it's Mistweaver. So Mistweaver is a weird spec. I don't know if it's S tier or not. I'm trying to like think here. I think Mistweaver is definitely up there. Um, I'm gonna put it as S tier, but again, I don't know. That's the one spec that I'm not too familiar on. Now I faced a lot, and they have that 1 minute orb, like it's like 130 or something, or 120, something like that. Makes it very strong. It might even be 150. I'm not like 100%, but I know it's shorter than usual cooldowns because it's up. It feels like it's up nonstop. Mystery overall healing, you can fist weave, so it's like versus certain comps, if it's a full melee comp, you can go in there fist weave and have a great time, and you're gonna do a lot of healing. Even if you're not fist weaving, you're still doing a lot of healing. It's literally just a based heal. It's basically Rest Druid. Same thing, same stuff, except you have a lot more to get away from stuff. So you have port, you have double port, you have revival or renewal. I don't even know which. Don't blame me if I don't know this, but you know what I'm trying to say. That blue button that makes sure no casting and dispels everybody, which is literally the most annoying thing to face in life because it feels like because they can put it to like a 1 minute CD or something, so it's like just very irritating. And then they have their own stun. They have incap. They have ROP. They just have a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna put it as S tier, but we can argue about it in the comments. What you guys think? Um, Next spec's gonna be Priest. Priest is gonna be an A tier. Overall, Priest is really good right now. Again, it's very biased off of what healer you're playing with. The one thing that's wrong with casters is simply you have to cast, and every single caster that has to cast is not going to have a fun time. So even though Destro has to cast, its instant cast literally will make them do 80 to 100k DPS. If they get a bolt off in your face, it's going to hit you for 2 to 300k. So if they get precog and you're getting just bolted in the face, you will get literally 2 to 3 shotted. So that's just when this comes in a lot better than SP. But SP overall, you have everything you need pretty much. I'd say the one thing that you're missing out on is your overall having to cast to keep your bleeds up. If you're playing a certain build, obviously there's other builds for certain situations. Overall, I'd put it at A tier. It could sometimes maybe be an S tier depending on who you're queuing with, but I'm gonna put it as A for now. Now with good old fashioned Druid, we all know Druid. Now, there's one downside to Residue right now, and the only downside is your vulnerability to death. Residue is probably the fastest class that can die that's ever been created. I'm Residue, if you get caught out in the middle as a Residue out of form, you will die 100-0 every time. So it's still the only thing that matters about Druid is your positioning. If you don't know how to just sit on a pillar and heal, you're not going to have a fun time. But if you just know how to simply sit on a pillar, you do nothing, you just sit there and do overall healing, and you'll end up out healing people pretty easily. If you just sit on a pillar and heal, you'll have a higher chance at winning to if you were to go in and try to CC. It's that much of a big difference, depending on what you're queuing, obviously. Uh, if you get a sub rogue or something, you want to try to cyclone off, stuns, but it's whatever. You do whatever you want to do, but it just depends on what CR you're playing at, all that good stuff. So that's pretty much Druid. We're going to go with Augmentation. It's going to be a C tier spec. Overall, it's a support class. A lot of people don't understand that support classes are not supposed to do huge damage. Now, I think even as a support, um, it's not the greatest. I'd say it's like, it's questionable, to be honest. Again, it's like, my Jolly Rancher. It's good, but it's bad. And at the same time, I think it's just bad enough to where it's not good like at all. I think it's probably the worst spec in the game. It doesn't really do much damage, which is fine, but then it doesn't have that much, you know, utility to stop people from doing stuff. It's not like an SP has damage and it also has a lot of utility for their team. Instead of a evoker to where it's like the only benefit that you get with an evoker is you get this scales thing that does a lot of damage, and I don't even think you get the 3,000 armor stuff anymore. So overall, not a good spec. I want to play it. Ret Paladin and Solo Shuffle wise, gonna be an S tier spec. You have mobility. You have, alright, it's not like the best, but with freedoms for your teammates. You have a lot of utility. Freedoms, bop, sink, sack, lay on hands. If you're running magic bop, boom, counters casters, bubble, trinket, and you're getting that 45-second saying to where you get, if as a Ret Paladin, if you're playing solid, you're going to be able to carry really any team, obviously not in healing wise, but just overall, you're going to be able to stop a lot of stuff from happening. The only counter to Ret Paladin is an H-Pow. So when you're playing with an H-Pow, you don't want to Ret on your team, because what happens is these guys get scared for their teammates, and they'll end up lay on handsing or something. They'll bop for no reason, and then the only reason H-Pow is viable is because of its utility. If you use your utility really good as an H-Pow, it's a really good healer. But if you're playing with like a Ret or something, or if you don't know how to use your utility, its overall healing's not good. It's just its utility. If you're popping, bops on people, you're sacking people at 100%, or like whenever there's damage popping off, you're going in for CC. It's a spec that you have to be doing stuff with. This is probably the one spec that if you just don't, like, maybe a few other specs. The Holy Priest has overall a lot of healing, but I'm gonna put H-Pal at A tier. Definitely good. Like people that say it's bad, no, really good healer. It's just the problem is H-Pal can't beat these specs because these guys don't have to do anything, and their overall healing is out of the charts. Like by the time we can probably go toe to toe with mana for a little bit, But then the healing is going to be like, oh, their entire team's alive, and I'm sitting there struggling just to keep, my people alive, even though nobody's popping anything yet. That's the difference. HBAL's still really good, don't get me wrong, but just these two are just disgustingly good. Disc Priest. Disc Priest is kind of a weird one. My bad, I am sucking on my Jolly Rancher. Priest is a weird one. The thing is, Priest can't beat a Druid usually. If you're very good at Priest and you play solid and you go in for stuff, versus Druid specifically, I think overall it's definitely an S tier. I mean, you have utility, you have pretty solid healing, you have damage. So overall, Disc Priest is definitely not an A tier healer. It's really good. The problem is when you're comparing it to something like this, that's where the problem, overall it's really good. I'd say it's close. It's not, the same, but it's definitely up there. Um, I am gonna put it there, but it could then again be really good. So Restless Shaman can easily be an S tier as well, by the way. Like if you're playing with good people, Restless Shaman's really good. But I'm gonna put it as A. I'm gonna keep that there and keep that there. I think that's the right place to go. Holy Priest is gonna be an A tier healer. The one problem with Holy Priest is your utility. So this probably does the most output healing that's possible of any class. So this overall healing for a Holy Priest, you do unimaginable healing. The problem is you have nothing to stop people from doing damage. So you don't have any PSs or anything or domes or anything to stop people from just like there's no damage reduction. You're literally just taking 100% non-stop burst the entire game, and they just swap to your teammate the moment you just put Guardian on them. So again, if Guardian gave you if Guardian was maybe like I don't know, you just have to give them a lot to be honest. They need damage reduction abilities. Like in this type of meta, it's just there's too much damage. But that's just how that's gonna go. It's definitely a good healer. Overall, you're doing a lot AP. Like if you're looking to heal and just pure heal, Holy Priest is your go-to. Like it's probably one of the most fun specs that you can play. That just does like you'll top the charts with healing really quick. But that's pretty much that. Evoker healing is a weird one. I'm gonna put it as B tier to be honest. It's mainly the reason it's so bad is because you're forced to play on top of people because you have an ability that it's called like verdant something, and it basically it basically flies you to them and it puts a heal and then you get a fast cast off that, and it also makes your next big spells do a lot more healing, and that's really bad in a meta that it's like every healer's sitting on a pillar, and if you're not on a pillar, you're gonna get swapped to and die in a global, or you're just gonna get perma CC'd the entire game. So mainly its overall healing's really good, but then the moment your burst healing's done, you can't heal. Like it's not a healing. It's not like a rest druid with hots on it. It's literally just like, oh, I'm out of my big spells to heal. They're dead. I can't heal this. So not a good healer. I wouldn't advise playing it. You can make it work, obviously. So it can easily be an A tier, but I'm gonna put it as B for now. I don't think as a like healing wise, I don't think it's as good as an H-Pow or a Holy Priest. Dev Evoker is gonna be an A tier spec. Dev Evoker is really good. Um, it's very good actually. You have huge burst damage. You have not the best defensives, but you have enough to where it's like okay, I can live a decent amount of time before my healers have to click stuff. Now if you don't click high, then you're gonna die. But if you know how to play Evoker and you go in there, you know how to click your burst rotation, you do your CC rotation, you do your roots into your dragon, it's really good. You can end up closing out games like 50% openers in a few rounds, pretty easy. But let me know what you guys think about this tier list. Obviously, if you want to see more of these, make sure you like, comment, subscribe for the algorithm if you haven't already. Commenting for the algorithm always helps the X out in the time of need. But let me know what you guys want to see next. I'm going to try to focus more on guides and stuff like that. But obviously, occasionally, we're going to have some gameplay as well. Because obviously, I know you guys like watching the gameplay. I will have a Rogue Mage guide coming out. Specifically going to be made for somebody. So be prepared for that. We're going to have a full Mage Rogue guide. I'm going to go in detail what you're doing, what's going on. It's going to be with my main Mage, so we're going to try to get the best games, not just the opener games, but mainly just a entire video on what to do, in a long game setup and how you can, change stuff up. But let me know what you guys think about this video. If you guys want to see another video like this, let me know. Otherwise, you guys have a good night or day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, peace.